The car behind her also accelerated to follow her through the lights. Was he following her? She wasn't sure, but she didn't like it. Seeing Franco near home had put her on edge. He was usually hard to find, like a nasty smell under the floorboards, difficult to find but persistent as hell. Yet today he'd been visible, not one, not two, but 3 times. The fact that he was there with his trolls meant that something was afoot, and she'd bet money on it being something to do with Dino. She'd got the impression that they were keeping an eye on her too. What other reason could they have for turning up at the Manville? What was it Dino had said about Franco when she'd spoken to him last time? He'll kill me. Franco will kill me. Maybe he hadn't been visiting Dino. Maybe he'd been keeping an eye on the little turd. Seems I've something in common with Franco after all. Keen to get to Dino to find out why Franco was in Lister Hills, yet reluctant to let Franco know she had contact with the lad, she decided to enlist Ali Khan's help. If she turned up at his taxi rank, they'd be able to work out some sort of tactic to get her to Bradford Royal Infirmary without Franco knowing she'd spoken to Dino. Better make it quick though. Margot looked bad, and Nikki wanted to get there before it was too late. Margot had been a good friend to her in the past. Tiredness weighed heavy on Nikki, and she longed to get home and to bed, but she needed to be with her friend. She felt a momentary pang as she remembered Charlie. She owed Charlie some time, and Marcus. Shit, when would this all end? When would she have the chance to repair the damage with Charlie, sort out Cal's old man, and deal with her own grief? Exhaling, she straightened up in her seat, rolling her shoulders to ease the tension. She'd no time to be a wuss. She just needed to get on with it, as always. Ali's taxi firm was on Toller Lane, set back off the road between an Asian sweet shop and a knackered old newsagent. Ali had been in business for as long as Nikki could remember. When she and Khalid had been students, it was Ali's dad who ran the business. Now that his dad had Alzheimer's, Ali ran it on his own. Nikki pulled into the large car park reserved for taxis and got out. Light spilled from the office window as she approached, and the constant ringing of phones told her business was good. She was pleased. He'd recently won the BRI accessibility contract from a rival and was employing more drivers than ever. If there was one thing Nikki was sure of, it was that this was one of the taxi businesses in Bradford that didn't launder money. Waving at a couple of the drivers who were smoking outside whilst waiting for rides, she pushed open the door and stepped through, aware that the ring from the small bell wouldn't be heard above the phones and the loud chatter of the operators as they directed drivers. The first thing that hit you when you went into Ali's front office was the heat. Jenny, his manager, was always cold, and now that the clocks were about to change and autumn winds had been picking up, she'd upped the heating accordingly. The second thing was how organised it looked. A row of computers and phones faced the door, and behind each sat a microphoned operator. The walls were painted a clean magnolia, and the wooden floor sparkled. Nikki approached Jenny, who was talking to a client, and catching her eye, Nikki gestured towards the inner office. Ali would be in his sanctum, no doubt praying, reading the Quran or doing his books. Jenny nodded and waved her away, leaving Nikki to walk down the short corridor to Ali's office. Jenny and Nikki would catch up another time. Over the years, the two women had become close. Jenny had also lost her husband young, and now the business was her life. Ali paid her handsomely for her dedication. Often Nikki wondered if something was going on between the two, but if it was, they kept it a fiercely guarded secret. Knocking on the door, Nikki waited for a mere second before his rumbling voice bid her enter. The office was large and as messy as the outer office was orderly. Ali jumped up from behind his old wooden, rather wobbly desk and, forehead wrinkled with concern, said, "Thank Allah you're okay, Nikki. Your friend Sajid wouldn't take no for an answer the other day." He shrugged his large shoulders, straining against his shalwar. "I was in an awkward position, police and all." "Don't worry, it's all sorted. What I'm here for is a different matter."